We were trying to get one of our board members on, and anyway, a little bit of delay. Margaret, will you do a roll call, please? Margaret, can you hear me? You're muted, Margaret.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. And the
Okay.
meeting's called to order at 5:43.
Yes, ma'am, I guess so.
Okay. Miss Teresa Stevenson,
Present.
Mr. Tom Sidwell,
Present.
Mr. Philip Box, Mr. Philip Box. Called to order
Here.
at 5:43.
Here.
Thank you. And Mr. James Streetman
Present.
and Mr. Sandoval is not here today.
He's absent at this
He's
point
absent, yes.
unless we come in. He might come in later in the meeting, so we'll see.
Okay.
Before we approve this agenda, I understand there's some corrections that need to be adjusted on it. So, Dr. Bush?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Under Article 6A, you see the name Ms. Clara. Her name is actually Carla, Carla, and her title is also incorrect there. She is the staff accountant. We'll introduce her in a moment. And directly beneath that, Mr. Anthony Lovato is the Executive Director for Information Technology, not Director.
Okay.
That's the corrections, Mr. Chairman.
Is it coming out okay over here?
Okay.
We'll get this
Then do we have approval of the agenda as corrected or as amended?
I so move. This is Philip.
Then I second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. I would like to go through the list here and address who's on this conference tonight, or who's on this meeting tonight. I'm just going to start off on the screen. We got Dr. Bush, we got Ms. Ragland, got Mr. Kaiser. Blanca, please help me. I'm sorry. I will work with you and get that name down better. We got Dr. Brooks. Okay, thank you. Dr. Brooks, Dr. Box, or Mr. Box, Mr. Sidwell, Carla Benavides, Julio Galindo, Dr. Marie Haas, Mr. Paul Moss, Ms. Alicia Zuckerich, I believe that's right, Mr. Josh McVeigh, Ms. Mary Beth Bush, Ms. Teresa Stevenson, Institutional Computing, Dr. Hackett, and Mr. Russell Irby, and myself, Jim Streetman. That being said, do we have any comments from the public on or about items on this agenda?
There were no comments at this time.
Okay. On to the consent agenda, which includes a special board meeting we had on September the 1st. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved. Teresa.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. Chairperson's report. Dr. Bush we started out with a limit on his spending of $20,000 a year. And now after watching him and how he has operated now for the last year and a half, I think we need to increase that. There's been a couple of instances where he needed a limit a little bit higher than that 20. We were looking at 40, and I guess really I want to throw this out to the board. Do you guys think 40 is enough, or should we take it a little bit higher maybe? 40 might be pushing you at times with some of the things. So maybe, just maybe, we ought to take that to 50,000 for his limit on spending. But again.
So, Dr. Bush, is 40 enough, or are you going to need more?
That's good.
Mr. Sidwell, as the construction progress continues, as well as the development of our nursing program, I know I have in queue expenses that will require more. However, I have sort of a strong feeling about this. I don't believe that a president should be given an exorbitantly high limit. That's why I believe you see this written as stating that new presidents, I believe, until you get an understanding of their spending habits, should not be more than 20. And I think that it's a checks and balance system that allows you to keep track of the president's spending. And so if you choose 40, that's appropriate. But I do know and expect expenses to come in that will require immediate action. And if necessary, maybe a special meeting would be more appropriate.
Okay. That being said, Philip, what do you think? Teresa, what do you think? You guys speak up.
Well, my thought is let's go 40 and see how it works. If we get to it and we need to bump it up, we can bump it up, and
Okay.
just take the direction from Dr. Bush. I think that's an important part. What he sees and so forth, because he's the one who has to deal with it, and then the board look at what that recommendation might be in the future.
That's right.
Teresa, you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would just simply say another way that you could handle the situation that Mr. Sidwell has brought up regarding certain expenses. For example, we have a number of very large expenses coming in the purchase of our equipment for the nursing program. And that money has been granted to us by the state to be used, so we have it. But in some cases, those bills are, $95,000 or $100,000. But we had over $500,000 that was given to us for the purpose of those products. So you could, as a board, make a decision to leave it at 40, but make an additional recommendation that expenses related to specific projects like the development of the nursing project, where we have the money and it's sitting there and we're waiting for your approval, that you would grant special approval for those particular items, and we can move those on.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. And, we could do that through the length of time that it takes to bring the nursing program up to date, and or construction and so on and so forth.
Right.
And just basically have the 40,000 as a base for you to operate with. So
I think the good checks and balance with that, Mr. Sidwell, is the fact that you know which programs you've given the privilege to authorize at higher levels. So, for example, nursing or the Building A project where we're having to pay construction fees, things like that, that otherwise, if they didn't fit within one of those previously pre-approved categories, the president should not have the authority above 40,000, for example.
Well, in the past, programs like that where the money is already allocated and already set aside for, the college has gone ahead with it and paid the bill, but brought it to the board at the next board meeting, and we've approved it. You might say counter to the date that the checks were written, because the project has to go on. These people
Right.
have to be paid or it stops. And so, and the same is going to be on that nursing program. That money is allocated. It can't be spent anywhere else but on that nursing program. Yeah, okay. That being said, then we're going to leave his limit at $40,000, except for the instances that where he might need to, or we would, no, let's back this thing up. We just leave it at 40,000 and we go from there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But I
do
do
we,
need to call for a vote for that.
okay. Do we have a motion?
now I make a motion that we Leave the limit at $40,000 for Dr. Bush's spending habits.
Okay. There you go. That's a good one, Tom. And a second, please.
Second, Teresa.
Okay. And roll call.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. Second item I've got on the agenda is we need to get Ms. Blanca on the Wells Fargo bank accounts down there, and it may be more than one, and whatever it is, we need to get her on those accounts. So if we can get that done so she has access and can actually get statements and things, because right now her hands are tied in getting a statement, and she has to come back through Dr. Bush. And I won't go into the rest of that, but anyway, she has to come back to Dr. Bush to get him to go down there, mind you, to try to get a statement for her. So can we get Ms. Blanco approved for the Wells Fargo accounts down on First Street?
I'll make that motion that we put Miss Blanco on that account at Wells Fargo Bank.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I second.
Okay, Tom seconds. Roll call.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and Mr. Box,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. President's report, or next was the reports in his President's division. So Dr. Bush, it's your ball.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, distinguished guests, it's my honor this evening to introduce to you 3 new employees. 2 of the 3 are with us this evening to say hello and tell you a little bit about themselves. We'll start with Paul Moss. You may recall that that's not a new name. Paul was brought in as the interim athletic director. The position was posted. He applied. He was the successful candidate. And I want to just simply provide you just with a little bit more insight into Paul. Paul has been doing an outstanding job, but when it came time to make that position permanent, one of the things that really stood out about Paul is that he took us through an NJCAA audit. As an interim athletic director, newly on the job, and he faced the audit straight on, and there were no audit findings, and he did a tremendous job with that. So Paul is with us this evening as the permanent athletic director. And Paul, do you have anything you'd like to say to the members of the board?
Members of the board, it's a real pleasure here, and just excited to be here at Mesalands, and excited to be the athletic director and work with the college. I thank President Bush and Dwayne Brooks and being Joel Kaiser for the opportunity to be here. So excited to be here. We're excited about athletics. If there's anything you'd like to know about athletics, if you'd like, but just thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moss. The next new employee that I'd like to introduce to you is Carla Benavides. Carla is the staff accountant. She is joining the team led by Blanca, and this has been a much needed position. Carla comes to us from Eastern New Mexico University, where she was an accountant there. She has
She lives in Portales at the moment.
a really nice history of working in accounting, not only in higher education, but in other areas. But one of the things that makes it sort of stand out with Carla is that she does bring higher education experience to this job, and understanding, for example, the appropriations and the higher education department and so forth. So, Carla, would you do you have anything you'd like to contribute or share with the board?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to get on with MCC. I'm really excited to be part of your guys' team and work alongside Blanca and just hit the ground running. I'm really excited. Me and my husband are kind of in the process of moving to Tucumcari. My husband is born and raised from Tucumcari, so we're really excited to be close to family, and yeah, I'm excited.
Well, we welcome you, and we are very, very happy to have you on board. And I know you've certainly made Blanca a very happy woman. So we'll go there. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the third recent hire is Mr. Anthony Lovato. He is Executive Director for Information Technology. He reports, of course, to the Chief Information, the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, Jason Nemro, who is with us. Unfortunately,
Are you still with us? Holy free holes. Froze up.
Did he freeze up or did everybody freeze up?
Everybody froze up. Everybody froze up.
Jason, can you give us a little bit on Mr. Lovato?
You gonna do it on
We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Let me go outside here so we're not echoing too badly. Mr. Lovato comes to us from a background in working with K through 12 school districts and hospitals. He just came off of a really big cybersecurity breach at the hospital he was working at, and comes with lots of experience, and we're really excited to get him just for our cybersecurity piece that we've been trying to build up over time. I think he'll be a hybrid employee. He'll be here for a few days every week, and then he will take care of what he can through virtual meetings, technology, and we've been really excited to see where he wants to take us in our infrastructure. My piece is to help us get more into the cloud so that we are better prepared in the future for situations like COVID, where having on-site resources can be a detriment. So I'm working more toward cloud things. Mr. Lovato will be more in charge of what we still have here on campus, especially with our labs and with everybody's desktop workstations, with the laptops that we assign to people. I'm excited, frankly, to get some of the day-to-day running that Mr. Lovato is going to do off of my plate, so I can concentrate on some of the other interesting things that we need to be doing that we really haven't been able to do very effectively before, because everybody was so busy just trying to keep the college running from day to day.
Thank you, Mr. Nimro. Mr. Chairman, do you or any of the members of the board have any questions for our new employees?
Hey, Mr. Box.
No, sir. Just welcome.
Mr. Sidwell.
Glad to have you on board.
Ms. Stevenson. You're muted, Teresa.
Welcome to all, and I've had the opportunity to meet Mr. Moss, and we've really enjoyed them in our strong seniors class.
I'll reiterate the same thing. Glad to have you guys on board. Hope you enjoyed here. We're tickled to death to have you. That being said, Dr. Bush, you're still up, sir.
Yes. For Mr. Moss and Carla, if you're welcome to stay and with the board meeting, or if you want to go on and do something else this evening, you're welcome to log out. So anyway, thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, students, guests, I want to provide you an update on some of the happenings at the college in the last week. As I have said from day one of my presidency, the most important thing that we do at the college, even one step above the word of education, is that we must always create a safe environment. We must have a safe environment for our students. We must have a safe environment for our employees and our staff and our faculty and anybody who happens to enjoy our facilities. With that in mind, we have had an opportunity to do an environmental scan of the college. And an environmental scan, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, when I refer to that, I'm talking about looking at the surfaces in the air to make sure that we don't have any pathogens that might cause someone to become ill, like mold or fungi or any of these kinds of things on the campus proper. I'm really quite happy to report that, considering especially the age of our facility, that the report of the findings of that environmental scan resulted in only, I believe, 4 or 5 locations where there was microbial activity that's could be mold or yeast or fungi at levels above the acceptable levels, and which meant that those areas needed to simply be eradicated and those sources eliminated. I'm very happy to report that Building G, where the President's Suite is, as well as the University Center, had no findings whatsoever. The Wind Building had no findings whatsoever. The museum has no findings whatsoever. And there was just a few places in Building A. There were a few places in Building C. Building D, the art building, also had 1 location. These were all small locations. They were not major, problems, but they were problems nonetheless. And then the former armory had 2 areas that showed activity. As a result of that environmental scan, we received that on one day. We took it very seriously. We responded immediately, and we began the eradication of those pathogens so that there would be no risk to our to the health of our employees, students, staff, and faculty. So they went into Building A as well as the other buildings that had showed positive growth of mold or other types of things. And tonight, we're happy to report that the college, all the buildings of the college now have been tested, and the college is now fully eradicated of any environmental hazards. So this is something that I think that we can all be very, very pleased and happy about. That when that we can certainly boast to the fact that we have an institution that's focused on the safety, and that when we discover some little something in the way, we quickly eradicate it and take care of it. As a result, the eradication meant that none of the employees could be on campus during this time. This process is a pathological process that requires the people who are removing these types of gross microbial gross to wear protective garments and masks and so forth. And so the college has been functioning and operating all week. We did not close the college, but we did close the campus. And this allowed the experts with the environmental study to go about their business, do the testing, and do the eradication and removal. And so that's where we're at tonight. We will be meeting tomorrow as an executive team about moving forward, because one of the outcomes of this process was that the infrastructure of the buildings, in particular Building A, which had the greatest amount, mostly around the restrooms. In that process of doing that cleaning and eradication, there was quite a bit of intentional removal of the infrastructure, the drywall, the floors, the tiles, these types of things. If you've been involved in this kind of thing, you have to get to the source, and this is what the company has done. So right now, Building A is certainly continuing with the construction project now on the improvements, but additionally, we are faced with rebuilding or redesigning and refurbishing the bathrooms in the areas that were affected by the presence of these environmental hazards. So that means that there's going to be a large need for drywall, for flooring, and these types of things. We will discuss tomorrow as an executive staff how we are going to proceed, because quite frankly, we initially had no bathrooms that were functional in Building A. We have been able to get one bathroom or restroom that is functional, but it's only functional. It is not a safe place to be as far as other types of construction hazards that might be present in there, because the walls and the flooring of that area have also been affected in this eradication process. So it will be safe for our employees to return back to work on Monday. The employees working in Building A will be able to come back with a great deal of confidence, more confidence than they've ever had before, because we now know that we've run a very extensive test and there are no pathogens present in the environmental scan in Building A. However, they are going to be limited while construction takes place to fix the damage in Building A that was done as a result of this process. This process of fixing those areas is going to take time. And we want the outcome to not just be something that's botched and doesn't, present the quality that our institution represents. So I will be recommending to the board tomorrow that we begin the process of seeking RFPs for the construction of the repair work to that part of the campus. I will be discussing with the executive staff tomorrow that we continue to leave Building A closed to students, employees that work over there. We'll be discussing those by case, but they would still, in most cases, be able to continue to work in that area as long as they're not directly engaging with students. And that we simply relocate the classes that were being instructed in Building A to one of the other buildings on the campus. So we're not retreating to a COVID type of situation where everything goes back online. Courses that have been taught face-to-face will continue to be taught face-to-face. If they were hybrid, they'll continue in a hybrid mode. If they were online to start with, they'll stay online. Nothing's changing except for maybe the classroom that they were actually meeting in. So, for example, a course that was in Building A may be moved to Building G. So no big deal. But we'll discuss that tomorrow because it does require a lot of planning and looking at the courses and being able to work with our faculty. And I know Joel will take a great leadership role in this and being able to coordinate with our faculty as we move forward on this. We are now only a few short weeks to the end of the semester. And the way I am looking at this, I would like to get this done and get this repaired by the beginning of the next semester. So that seems logical to me, and I think that we should be able to have a result that we're quite proud of. So good news, the college is in great condition environmentally. The disadvantage right now is that we are going to be shutting down one of our buildings to students and simply relocating their classes to another location, which is actually not a really big deal either. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, do you have any questions regarding this environmental scan and the study that was done and how we've handled it up to this point?
Board members?
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's great that you jumped on it when you did. And so I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Good, Mr. Box.
Good job.
I don't see Teresa. Did she drop off here?
No, she's here.
She's there. She's muted.
I'm here.
There you are. Okay.
One question, for those classes that are hands-on type classes, will some of those classes be, will people be able to take them at a different time to make up for that, or how is that going to work?
Yes, ma'am. Nothing is going to change for the students other than possibly their room number. So we'll be able to, we've been talking about different ways in which we can handle things, for example, like labs and other types of contact areas. Mr. Kaiser, as the chief academic officer, will work directly with those faculty to be able to accommodate them. So hands-on teaching will continue. This is only affecting hands-on teaching that might be taking place in Building A. So this is not a major problem for hands-on learning.
Yeah. Directly. In Google Meet, you can set up a stream that goes straight to the user.
Okay, anybody else? We got this as an action item. What is the action we need to take on this thing? Is this approval of bringing in the environmental study or what?
Yes, sir. The action item here is actually I'm asking the board to ratify a decision that I needed to make in an emergency situation. When, as Mr. Sidwell noted, when we literally discovered this on one day, we literally had the people on campus the next. And as a result of that, we ended up with a bill that exceeded my my level of authority to begin the project, and so I took the executive privilege of making that call because this was an emergency situation to take action and contract with the vendor to get the environmental study done, which exceeded my level of spending that was approved at that time. Now, today it wouldn't be a problem because you just rose rose the limit. But what I'm asking you to do is simply ratify my decision to accept that bill and pay it, which we've done for I believe is around 24,000. Margaret may have a closer number to that.
That's the study and the cleanup, right?
Yes, sir. In fact, Mr. Morgan, I see, has joined us, but we actually were treated exceedingly well by this company. They came in, they did the study, and then after the study was very, very thorough, it looked at a number of different pathogens, not just black mold, for example. And then because we asked them to do the eradication and do the cleanup, they gave us a 50% discount on it. So we were able to complete this study plus the eradication, and there will the initial expense, I believe, as I said, was around 23 or 24,000. I do expect now that they're just finishing up, probably tomorrow, we'll probably see an additional statement from them that'll be a little bit higher. But that's the issue at hand, Mr. Chairman, is simply seeking approval from the board for and basically ratifying my decision to go ahead and contract with a company that was above my spending grade.
Okay. Do we have a motion then to approve this environmental study and eradication?
I make a motion that we approve the environmental study.
Okay. And a second?
I second it.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
The motion carried.
Okay. Dr. Bush, before you go further, you have skipped over the chess action item.
By golly, I did. So let's go back to chess.
Thank you.
So anyway, my apologies, Mr. Chairman. About a year ago, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I brought to you a proposal of a letter of intent for Mesalands to join CHESS, the Collaboration of Higher Education Shared Services. This is a group of a handful of independent community colleges who are developing a shared approach toward their IT systems, their financial systems, their human resources systems, and this board voted at that time to move forward with their intent to step forward in this on this project. Tonight, I'm coming to you and asking you to modify that request that you approved. We are in some discussions with CHESS as to what is appropriate and may not be appropriate for the planning in the future of for Mesalands as it applies to chess. And so I'm asking you tonight for the authority, because again, this is a time-sensitive issue, to grant me that authority to act on behalf of the board in making a decision as we further investigate the viability of whether or not we should continue with the chess movement. I'll try to answer any questions you may have. Not hearing any immediate questions, I will ask Dr. Brooks, who has been working closely with me on this issue, if he has anything he would like to add to my comments regarding our involvement with chess at this point.
Besides the fact, just to reiterate that we're in continual discussions and in terms of our evaluation, what's best for the college, that's about it.
Sounds like he's trying to get away from it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we simply don't have all the answers we need right now, but it's going to require us to be able to act quickly and within a timely manner because of the expense associated. So if we determine that it's not going to be beneficial for us, we want to be able to take care of that before we incur expense.
I'm not clear on what exactly you're asking of us.
I'm asking you to modify your request. You passed a notice of intent to affiliate with chess.
Okay.
What I'm asking of you, Ms. Stevenson, is for you to modify that to give me the negotiating authority and power that if I see that this is going to become a quick expense for us and it's inappropriate for us to move forward, that I can make that decision and stop the progress. Or because, as Dr. Brooks has pointed out, we're still investigating very carefully and weighing our options to actually see if this is going to be cost beneficial to the college as well. So, but it's come to a place where action is going to need to be taken very quickly regarding our role with chess. And quite frankly, without calling a special board meeting and going through quite a bit of an ordeal with this, I think it will be best handled if Dr. Brooks and I work together and with the executive staff to make the best decision for the college on that.
Okay, thank you. I understand now.
Okay. Folks, do we have a motion?
I move that we
Do what you said.
what Dr. Bush said, let's go ahead and give him the permission to do whatever he needs in our best interest.
Thank you, ma'am. That's what I'm asking.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay, Dr. Bush, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have a couple of things further I'd like to share with you, ratifying some of the steps I've taken that need. Basically, I took steps now, and I'm coming back and getting the board to endorse those steps. You'll find in your board packet a few policies. In particular, the first policy you'll see is called an implemented part-time employment policy. This employment policy is not changed, except that the former policy defined a part-time employee as someone with 20 hours and above, or I'm sorry, 20 hours and below. The modification that we took brought us into alignment with the Affordable Care Act, as well as other governmental definitions of a part-time employee. And that means the number changed. It changed from 1 to 29. An employee cannot work more than 29 hours. Otherwise, they're full-time. So we are able to use more part-time employees from 20 to 29 hours by making this change. It also has an implication on benefits and other employee services as well. So, Mr. Irby, did I cover that thoroughly? Do you have anything necessary to add to that?
Yes, and it takes that wall where it had been the policy before. If it went over that 19 hours, we were going to make them benefit eligible. Now, as long as it's not a repetitive, say if somebody goes over that 29 hours once, twice a month, now occasionally, we're still not required to make them a regular or a full-time, just as long as we don't have it on a regular basis as defined by the IRS. So as long as it's not a third of the time or more, if it happens occasionally, rodeos here or something else, we can boost up hours, and then as long as we're not doing it on a regular basis, we're fine.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Irby. And he did a very good job pointing out that this is in alignment with the Affordable Care Act, but it's also in alignment with the IRS definitions of an employment of different grades of employment. And this puts us in alignment with the rest of the country. So that's where we're at, Mr. Chairman. And so my request of the board is to approve the implemented part-time employment policy that we have put into place, and you're ratifying my decision on that.
Any questions? Okay, if I hear no questions, do we have a motion?
So moved, Teresa.
Okay, and a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Roll call.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay, that was the implemented
Yes.
part-time employment policy. Now you've got a part-time employment policy, 3.4.3, Exhibit 4.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is simply another location within our policy manual that actually defined what a part-time employment was. So what you just did, you're doing it again. It's just mentioned twice in our employment manual. And this is simply bringing into alignment our policy manual so it doesn't say 20 in one place and 29 in another. So that's all this does. Okay. And you'll notice this is in your board packet, and you'll notice it's like one sentence. So,
right. Do you want to do them individually, or just get the whole policy changes approval?
Where is that?
You'll need to do the others.
Individually?
Regular employment is the same situation, sir. So the regular employment policy change, 3.4.1, is also bringing into alignment that the part-time employee is at 29 hours or less. So that, again, is just bringing the entire policy manual into alignment. So if you wanted, Mr. Chairman, to include part-time employment 3.4.3 and regular employment 3.4.1 into one vote, then I see nothing wrong with that, because they're both just simply doing the same thing. They're just correcting a number in the policy manual.
Questions, anyone? Okay, if we have no questions, do we have a motion to approve Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 5?
I'll make a motion that we approve Exhibit 4 and 5.
Second.
Okay, Philip seconded, Tom for motion. Roll call.
I was 20 or under. Now it's 29 or under.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and Mr. Box.
Yes.
The motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you very much to the members of the board. The next policies that are before you are similar policies, but they are very, very important policies as we move Mesalands forward. These policies allow us the opportunity to award and grant credit based on provable life experience and other acceptable forms that are used to assess a student's ability to understand the content of a course. And those things include the development of portfolio credit. You'll see that it includes advanced placement credit from high schools. It includes the CLEP test, which you may be familiar with. Dante's is another standardized test. The International Baccalaureate is also another one of those. And there are occasionally other standardized tests that are discipline specific that allow us to be able to test somebody and be able to award credit based off of that test versus them taking a course. This is part of our goal. Our goal, remember, is to get our students across that finish line and across that graduation stage and successful as quickly as we can, causing them the least amount of student debt. And what we know is that for adult learners over 25 years old, statistics show that they come to the college with enough life experience at that point that they could have as many as 12 credit hours in their back pocket and didn't even know it. They would be able to literally start college with one semester completed based on their life experience and a variety of different ways in which we can test. So what you're doing with this, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, is that you are taking a very big, brave step to join the other colleges and universities across the country to find the most beneficial ways to make our students successful. If a student has spent their life working for a newspaper and writing, then it seems to be no reason why they could not show that they meet the learning objectives established for an English course. So we should be able to grant English credit for that type of student. Today, I spoke to members of the higher education department, and we worked out an agreement that will allow us to use the Opportunity Scholarship money for our students, so they would not have to pay for this credit by using a built-in course that would help them develop their portfolios. So what you have is two policies that go together. One is known as prior learning assessment. That's what it is. What did you learn in your life and how can we test it? And the other one is life credit experience. And that is taking someone who's, let's say, worked at the telephone company for 25 years. Do they know how to wire a box together? And that happens to be an electrical course requirement that they're able to get that electrical credit for. So that's what I'm asking you as the board to do tonight, is to help us take that big step to help make our students more successful. And this policy will do that. Any questions?
I was trying to get unmuted. Yes, sir. Any questions? Okay, we have no questions. Do we have a motion to approve Exhibit 6 and 7?
I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit 6 and 7.
Okay, in a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Just a couple of other quick points here that I want to bring out, but I have to do a little bit of paper shuffling. Just give me a second. We have a couple of things that I want to highlight that's been tremendous news for us. I want to first bring to the board's attention and recognize publicly Dr. Manny Encinius. Dr. Encinius has won an international prize. There is only one given in the world for the development of sustainable meat processing. This was done in collaboration with using his own farm, but Dr. Encinius is the featured national leader now in meat production. And he has, when the magazine on meat production came out, the entire magazine features him, what he did, what he's doing at Mesalands, and the many great things that Mesalands is doing in collaboration with our Center for Workforce Development in developing our meat school. And so I want to just simply say that while others may talk the talk of developing a meat program by thinking they have great instructors, we can walk the walk. We actually have the global choice for the top professor in the development of meat processing. So I really wanted to take a moment to share that information with you. I also want to share with you that on September 22nd, my executive staff and I welcomed President Ryan Trosper. He is president of Eastern New Mexico University at Ruidoso. We entered into a mutual agreement that day that allowed for us to basically trade students who are interested in programs that we have that they don't have, and programs they have that we don't have. So we started off by doing where they will educate the first few courses and then transfer them off to us for the WIND programs, and they'll graduate with our WIND programs. Likewise, we will teach the first few courses of cybersecurity. And cybersecurity, as you heard Mr. Nimro describe earlier, is a very high demand occupation. And we've been able to put in a cybersecurity lab on our campus, and they will be able to get their cybersecurity training from Eastern New Mexico University. This is monumental. It is the way partnerships and collaborations need to work in higher education, so that we are able to deliver the types of courses that students need and want, that produce high-paying jobs, and at the same time, we're not in the predicament of needing to hire full-time people to be able to do it. We're able to share our faculty and share our resources with each other. So I'm very excited to share with you the partnership between Mesalands and Eastern. But probably even as exciting, and you'll see it in your board packet, is an agreement that we entered into with Capital Technology University. It is arguably the nation's leader in technology education. It can start where we have students come in and want to get into a skilled trades, non-credit program, and then we're able to convert them to credit if they so desire. If they want to continue their education, they'll be able to continue their education and get an associate's degree with us. Stay right here in Tucumcari. That's the important part to listen to. Stay right here in Tucumcari. finish their bachelor's degrees, master's degree if they so want, and doctorate in our university center, what we refer to as the Mesalands College University Center. And Eastern New Mexico is part of that university center, and so is Capital. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I do want to direct your attention to your board packet. I'm not going to read this to you. You're fully capable to sit and try to digest it, but you'll see this beautiful red document that Capital produces, and on the back of that, you'll see the degrees. And all of these degrees will be available to our students here. In fact, in the minimal amount of time that this became public, we have already got students lined up and are being advised into these programs. And I want to point out some of them. Some of them like cyber analytics. Some of them are in the construction trades that allow people to become project managers that require higher degrees than what they get in the skilled trade area. Some of them are in the technology field. Some of them are related to space. And these are programs that you're not going to find hardly anywhere in the country, and certainly nowhere else in New Mexico are you going to find that you can begin and complete a degree in space operations that will land you an internship, if not a full job, at NASA. Our students will be prepared and be working directly with NASA on the satellite programs. You all go find me the school that can do that. Okay, this is the reason why Mesalands exists, for the unique programs that we have that serve a unique population. And I want you to take time at your leisure to read through these degrees, and I believe you will find the whole concept just mind-blowing. New Mexico has the history of being the leader when it came to the nuclear and the Cold War era. And now we are the leader in mobility and being able to give our students degrees that allow them to operate drones, become government contractors. And just to throw a little bit of even better news on this whole thing, how this worked out for the students. We negotiated with our partners at Capital so that every student at Mesalands who's taking their courses right here in our university center, every student will get a $10,000 scholarship. Additionally, they lowered their tuition rate for our students. Additionally, they give every student a guarantee that when they complete their program, if they don't get a job that earns more than $50,000 a year, they will help pay off their student loans. This is a no-brainer. This is a win-win. And for Northeast New Mexico, it's just incredible what we're able to do and bring to this area. When this word gets out that you can come to Mesalands, a community college which is affordable in those first 2 years, and then be able to go and work with this private university in Laurel, Maryland, and finish your degree, and before you walk out that door, I met the students there. I tried to steal them and come back to be our cybersecurity people, and they laughed at me because they're already seniors in college and have $250,000 jobs waiting for them as government contractors and working for the NSA. So this is a tremendous opportunity. It's also giving our local students who want and need to return back to New Mexico, which is what we want them to be able to do, that opportunity, because a number of these degrees work either, number one, remotely, or number two, they're actually able to function and sustain the economy that we have here and that we're proud of in Eastern New Mexico, especially emergency and protective services and services within agriculture and construction. And additionally, I'll wrap it up on this because I'm very excited, obviously, about this, is that these degrees also prepare us for the number one job of the future that has been presented to us for the last 2 days while we've been in meetings in Santa Fe, and that is related to transportation and logistics. And as we begin to look forward, we're looking at how capital will be able to support and sustain the top need that's been identified by a number of organizations that's looked at the workforce of New Mexico. So, Mr. Chairman, cannot say enough to you or members of the board about how excited we are, how excited our students are. They're already in line, and we're still trying to get caught up to advise them. This is a problem that we are very excited to have with us. So I did want to draw your attention to that. The other thing I will tell you is that we have been talking now, is that we did implement our CDL program. It's going very well, and I want to shout out to Jim Morgan and Mary Beth and Workforce Development, who is managing that program. But the exciting news that came to us this week is that we have now been approved as a testing site for CDL truck driving academy. This is a big deal because the closest one to us otherwise is well over 100 miles away. So we will be covering Northeast New Mexico in testing. There's only a few of these sites across the state, and we are now one of them. So we've got some great things happening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, and I want to make sure we share those with you. I will not hold you up long, but I do want to give my team a moment. Please keep it brief. If I am forgetting something that these folks need to know about, and the exciting things that may be happening in your area that I didn't mention. Do any of you have anything to add?
Do you want to start with academic affairs then?
Yeah, we can run through them one by one, or they can just jump in. We don't have to hold them up. Joel,
whatever works, folks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for some presentation time. I guess the highlight would be we've started our second 8-week session of classes. We've got wonderful enrollment, and we have, scroll here. Of course, we have big events coming up. We've got our HLC Change visit, the 24th through the 25th, and we have a tremendous amount of preparations going into our nursing program, classroom prep, and getting all that ready to get that first cohort ready for a great start.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Mr. Streetman, you are Mr. Chair and members of the board. What Mr. Kaiser's described to you with having a second start term is another one of our student success strategies, so that we are able to create multiple start and stop times that fits into the students' lives better. This is a change for us at Mesalands, and puts us at a very competitive edge, and most importantly, opens up doors of access to our students. Mr. McVeigh, do you have anything quick to add?
Absolutely. I want to add that we've had a phenomenal year for enrollment. As a matter of fact, we have broken many records. This enrollment overall is the highest enrollment historically for Mesalands Community College. We've broken records in our dual enrollment. We've also broken records in our corrections enrollment. So it has been a phenomenal year, enrollment this year. And I just want to, of course, say thank you to the enrollment team, faculty, everyone, as we go through recruitment and recruiting students, the unique opportunities that our faculty have to get out there. But again, Mesalands is just doing a fantastic job. And this is a very exciting time to see that we have the highest enrollment that we've had historically this year. So this is, very, very exciting. So that's absolutely what I would like to highlight.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, very quickly, I want to give a shout out of appreciation to Mr. McVeigh, who led our strategic enrollment management plan. Today, I met with the Secretary of Higher Education, Stephanie Rodriguez, who told me that she was incredibly impressed by our plan. Our plan included the steps necessary to get us back to the high point. I predicted it and developed a plan that would get us there in 3 years. And Mr. McVeigh, under his leadership with his enrollment management team, was able to do it in 3 months. So we can't say anything more positive than what's going on over in that area. And a real shout out to him. Ms. Bush, do you have anything from workforce development that's happening there that you'd like to contribute?
Not really, mainly just excited about the CDL testing and really anxious to get moving forward with that. We have a lot of other programming we're working on, but it's still in the initial phases. Just very happy to get the CDL program, and the funding assistance for our students is going really well with Workforce Connections. We've got that streamlined as well. So things are quickly lining up there so we can have a very stable program. Just very happy about that.
Yeah, do you want to share with the board your new permanent home as you grew out of your old home, so they know where they can find you?
Yes, I'm very happy to have a permanent home. We are in the former Armory building. We are directed, it is now the Center for Workforce Development. And I am located there along with Kim Enriquez and Dr. Encinius, and soon to be Alejandro Ojeda, our CDL driving instructor as well. So we're all housed there. For those that may be involved in the Strong Seniors program, you have seen us in your space because you were there first. So that program is also still in the Center for Workforce Development.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think it's very important for me to point out that what's happening now in workforce development is these programs are going out and Ms. Bush and Mr. Kaiser are working collaboratively on the educational piece, so that allows our students to take a course that may be non-credit and then be able to translate that later into credit if they so choose to take a career ladder that would allow them to advance to higher degree levels. So this is what workforce development is about. It's giving the students all of the tools they need should they choose to take additional steps in their careers. Thank you, Ms. Bush.
Thank you.
Mr. Galindo, do you have anything you'd like to add real quick?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. President, would like to add quickly that in your packet, there's an event there on November 2nd. I believe the flyer you have shows that we have an event where we're inviting one of the last Navajo code talkers, who's mobile, actually one of 3 remaining in the world. He'll be on campus. Well, he was going to be on campus, pardon me. But now that we have, his last count, 644 confirmed individuals, not including anyone at Mesalands still, which we haven't, gone out and let everyone know officially and gotten a head count. But we have now moved that event to the Tucumcari High School auditorium. So hopefully we'll all see you there on November 2nd between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. And just a couple hours ago, Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez's office indicated she is trying to make that event herself personally instead of sending a field representative. So that's the high point there. And all thanks to Judy Ross and Dr. Maria Haas in getting those currently 644 individuals confirmed so far.
Thank you, Mr. Galindo. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, one change you'll hear us referring to now is the Center for Hispanic Initiatives. You've heard me discuss in the past our important commitment to our college as a Hispanic serving institution and our work in following the guiding principles of improving Hispanic student success through excelencia in education. We had the privilege of being able to join Excelencia in Education at our most recent meeting. As a result of that, we have created the center because it's more broad scope now than just Excelencia, but also Haku and other Hispanic services that help our students. And the executive director of that center, I am proud to introduce, is, of course, Dr. Maria Haas. So her slight change in her responsibilities, and she's with us this evening. So she is solely devoted to working on improving that work for our Hispanic students. Dr. Haas, do you have anything briefly you'd like to add?
No, just basically we are planning on moving forward. Happy to work with the rest of the individuals that are at the college, because this is a monumental project if we want to pursue Excelencia, which we definitely do, and it's going to take the village. So we will be working on that, and I know Julio and I are working together and coming up with strategies, and then of course getting the project rolling so that we can begin collecting data, which is the required 5 years that Excelencia looks for. So.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Haas. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Irby, do you have anything you'd like to add very quickly? If not, we'll just keep right on moving.
Just real quick, partnering with Mr. McVeigh and his team, we are Title IX compliant as far as what we have on our website. So we have the full program set in where the students can contact 24 hours a day, anyone they need, and we are set up and ready to help protect the students and be within federal compliance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that may not sound like anything, but the sad fact is that we were not in compliance with Title IX until Mr. Irby took the leadership and has brought the college into very strict compliance with a very, very important regulation over higher education. Mr. Nimro, do you have anything that you would like to share with members of the board?
I certainly would. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. President. Just recently, in the midst of all of the turmoil that we have every registration time, as we strive to fix up records so that everybody can access the resources they need, we were able to bring Justin Hatterman from part-time work to full-time, and he has certainly given us a wonderful gift. We now have a internal cyber auditing system that is in preliminary place. This makes us more compliant with GLBA and the FTC rules that have recently brought institutions like ours, colleges and universities are being regulated just as if we were banks, and this brings us to a whole new level of how we have to operate for our data governance, our databases, our internal network, and how we work. And this thing that Justin Hatterman's been able to bring in is going to really help us to do this, and to
that name again,
and not just to keep us in compliance, but to kind of keep us ahead of the federal regulations that we have recently needed to start complying with. And I'm really grateful to our own Justin Hatterman here, who adds so much of his talent to the talent we already have in Chris Reynolds and everyone else. And so I just wanted to give kind of a shout out to Justin in gratitude for what he's done for us.
Thank you, Mr. Nimro. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we'll just take a quick moment here. Blanca, do you want to hit one or two of the key high points that's going on in your world that's turning the tables on our business office and our financial accountability?
Absolutely, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, we are very excited that we are moving forward with the review and restructuring of our business office area. We had evaluated the different roles in our restructuring and revamping for all of the multiple collaborations that the college is participating in and anticipating ways to better serve our college and our constituents. And we have successfully submitted budget requests for special projects and one-time funding to HED and expecting review and feedback on those, and continually improving our internal controls, been working with our CIO, Mr. Nemro, in reviewing different vendors for making our reporting capabilities more versatile. And we're just engaged in multiple process improvement, personnel roles improvement, systems improvements, operationally as well. So we just energized and trying to keep up with all the changes that are happening.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, very quickly, Mr. Morgan, can you hit on 2 or 3 real quick things for these? We'll try to keep our meeting moving as quickly as we can here, but I want them to know what's happening.
Yes, Chairman, members of the board, I don't really have anything to add above what you probably already read and have been told. My life the last week or so has been mold, and if you need any extra facts on that, you can send me emails and I'll try to answer them. But at this forum, I can't give the details and all, but there is a lot of work that's been done. There's been a lot of cleanup been done. You'll be surprised if you decide to walk into a building now. All the buildings are mold-free, certified by this company. So you're welcome to go in and see the damage. It's just up to you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Hackett, can you give us just a quick update on maybe what's big on your plate today?
My world is Higher Learning Commission. HLC has been keeping me busy. As you know, we are getting one step closer to the associate's level nursing program. 2 peer reviewers from HLC will be on campus on Monday. They'll spend a full day Monday and the morning of Tuesday. I've planned out all their sessions. They're going to meet with leadership. They'll meet with student services, Dr. Bush. And since we're not sure about Building A and the nursing area, what it's going to look like, Destiny, our graphic designer, has come up with, and Rob, some great visuals for them to have. So when they show up Monday morning, I've got folders for them, and they'll be able to picture it, even though they won't be able to see it. But yeah, I'm confident in the approval. We're one step closer, and I'll keep everyone up to date.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My Chief of Staff, Dr. Dwayne Brooks, do you have anything you'd like to add, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Today we returned from a retreat in Santa Fe with the New Mexico Independent Community College Association. We were able to spend a day having some robust discussions on workforce development. We also had the opportunity to network. One example was the Deputy Cabinet Secretary of Higher Ed, Ms. Trujillo, Dr. Trujillo, as well as Dr. Bush mentioned, Stephanie Rodriguez was there. So we've had some engaging conversations on that topic as well as other things. We also had a NIMIC board meeting today. So in addition to that, Dr. Bush had mentioned the recent partnerships with Capital Technology University, which is extremely exciting. We're also finalizing agreements with Western Wyoming, of course, and we have another opportunity in which we're in conversations with Menlo College in Atherton, California, which gives us some exciting and additional pathways for our students. Other things we've been up to: last month we attended the Rural Community College Association's National Conference in Council Bluffs, Iowa, where the purpose was to learn more about best practices of rural community colleges throughout the country, and including but not limited to data-formed decision making. And we made some we had some great networking opportunities out there as well. So those are some of the things that we've been working on and engaged with. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, last but certainly absolutely not least, I want to give Ms. Ragland an opportunity to say anything that she would like to add as far as being the glue that holds this amazing team together. So Ms. Ragland, do you have anything you'd like to add this evening?
No, sir, I don't. I'm just busy being glue.
Very well. Okay, I want to wrap up my piece of this as quickly as possible for you, but a couple of things to bring to your quick attention. I am working in collaboration with the Undersecretary of Education, Dr. Amy Lloyd, as it relates to career and technical education. She is originally from Albuquerque. As Dr. Brooks mentioned, we met and worked with her last month at the rural community colleges. I met and spent the day with her yesterday. She's doing a lot in helping us get our direction related to the things that I know you as members of this board have brought to our attention as you have identified the needs. Things like the skilled labor positions, the career and technical education, the meat processing, all of those kinds of things are very important. And having the Undersecretary from the U.S. Department of Education on our side is amazing. She's promised a visit very, very soon. Two last things very quickly. This group and I were invited guests to the Board of Directors meeting for, if I could read my writing here, Empresas Tajín Mexican Foods. You may recognize Tajín as it's related to Paulitas, which is currently housed in what was formerly known as the Armory, which we now refer to as the Center for Workforce Development. Empresas Tajín is actually the umbrella company of five Mexican food companies. They are the largest producer of Mexican food, certainly in North America. They are in very close talks with us. Not only are they working in our facility, but looking at how we can provide training for their employees, which I think their total employees are somewhere around 100,000 people, worldwide, and what we could do to support that type of education. I will tell you that we hosted at this board meeting here in the Wynn Center at Mesalands, the Congressman Horacio Fernandez Castillo. He is, in fact, a member of the Mexican Congress, and he was here in Tucumcari and joined us at this meeting. We had a lot of fun trying to use our Spanish, but I really have to give the big shout out to my interpreter for me, which was Julio Galindo, who stayed by my side, and we were able to have great conversations as a result of that. This is a really big and growing opportunity for us. Paulitas is greatly expanding the opportunities now with these five companies. They were very delighted, I would say enamored with us. We shared the same common social mission between the college and their large organization, and they have invited us to work with their local university as well as their local plants, and they are providing us a trip down to their main headquarters in the early winter in Guadalajara. So it'll be a quick trip down and back, but you of us are looking forward to that trip as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. But great opportunities there. So the last thing I just simply want to mention is that we participated in the state hearings for funding for projects for the college. And this information is in your board report, but I would like to highlight it because what happened is the process was that the college was asked to bring forward their ideas for what we needed to do to improve. And then the process is that those ideas ultimately come to the president. Then I review them and prioritize them. And then we went into a hearing. There was, I don't know, probably a dozen of us in the hearing to defend each one of these requests that totaled more than $2 million of requests from the state to support these programs. I just want to tell you what programs I rated as within my priorities. The number one priority that I asked the state for was campus police, security, and safety. This was the number one priority that I asked for last year. It was denied last year, and it was also wiped off the list for presentation this year. However, Dr. Harry Rommel from the Department of Higher Education did tell me that it's not dead, it's not off the table, but they did not allow it to be part of the hearing. My second request was for funds to support our Department of Nursing and Allied Health. That one they did hear, was very excited in that project. Our third project that I put forward was we needed funding and support for our Center for Workforce and Economic Development. This is rapidly becoming a very integral part of the college. The fourth was money for the North American Wind Research and Training Center. As you know, our Mesalands and wind are synonymous in many ways, as well as our other forms of renewable energy. Number 5 was a request from the Department of Natural Sciences and Paleontology to support the addition of a new paleontology intern. We're getting requests from graduate schools and doctoral programs to place students in our museum to work alongside Dr. Hungerbuehler to get their doctoral work completed here at our campus, and this required some funding, so we have requested funding for that. I would say that the HED was quite intrigued by that. Finally, we requested money for our athletics expansion. And this was based not because we thought we would like to have more athletics, but it's because what we're seeing is that as we expanded our athletics, it had a correlation to expanding our enrollment. So, and that's what we're looking at. So when I'm talking about the expansion of athletics and the continued funding of our athletics, this includes rodeo, obviously. We'll continue to seek there. Esports, which will soon be as big as the rodeo team. Wonderful work going on in esports. Cross country, we competed in our first cross country event through the NJCAA, as well as our golf, and we've had those for quite some time. But it includes adding soccer, and the one that everybody's excited about, sporting clay shooting. This is a very quick growing sport across the country, and we believe it would be very popular here in this region of the state. As well, we looked at some indoor sports as well. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I apologize for the length of this. I know you're wanting to go to get out of this, but I did want to bring those to your attention. I want to thank you for your time in listening to this, and I want you to be aware that we're continuing our relationship with the White House. I still meet with them every 2 weeks. It is not listed in your board report, but it was something I wanted you to know that it didn't go away because it's not listed. But we are working on improving rurality, and I will be doing some national, continuing to do national presentations on improving rural education, mostly as an extension of the work from the rural stakeholders through the White House. So that's all I have for you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Again, thank you for your attention and your patience, and I'm free to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, anyone? Okay, if there are no questions, I guess we'll drop down to administrative affairs. I'm seeing the note here. It says, due to the chief financial officer and the chief information officer working on new software, the financial statement for the will be forthcoming in future board meetings. We don't really have one tonight because they're working on new software, trying to get that. So the next item on our agenda, folks, is we got an executive session. So do we have a motion to go into executive session for the reasons listed here?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Okay, and a second, please.
Second.
Okay, we got Tom made a motion and Teresa made a second. Roll call.
Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay, Jason, Chris, hang on here for just a minute. And we got to make sure at this point we're going to go into executive session. We need to break that stream.
I will shut it down, and you'll give me a call when you're ready to go back, Mr. Streetman?
Yes, I'll call your cell, correct?
Yes, sir.
That'll work. Okay, when the stream's shut down, let me know, Chris, please. Now.
It is.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone. We need to put up the "we'll be right back" thingy.
Oh. And yeah, there we go.
So you leave the meeting to shut down the stream, basically.
So I leave the meeting. That shuts down the
And then we
call
just
on
throw
my
up
side,
this.
and I throw up the stream will some kind
Return
of
shortly. Gotcha.
thing.
Okay. Cool.
And
When
yes.
you get back with us, it depends on how.
to come back on?
Radio, we are back and we are streaming.
Okay. You're already streaming.
I believe that's what he said, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Jason, did I hear Chris right that we are streaming?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Very good. At this point, I guess we need a motion to come back from reconvene the meeting from executive session. So do we have a motion?
I so move.
And a second, please.
Second.
Also,
Okay, I think Teresa beat you to it, Tom.
yes, she did.
Okay, roll call.
Was that the first motion? Was that Mr. Philip Box?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. Action needed if based on our executive session. Yes, there is. We need to give negotiating authority to Dr. Bush and Dr. Brooks
Didn't do
to be able
is
to
I
negotiate
didn't
some real
start
estate.
a local recording.
Do we have a motion to do that?
Something Larry liked to do just in case.
I make a motion that we
have one locally
do
in case-
as you stated.
Stream actually. In case stream thinks it should.
Margaret, you might want to clean that up where it's a little bit clearer than what I just.
I think we're okay
Yes,
without it.
we want to grant Dr.
Yeah.
Bush and Dr. Brooks the negotiating authority, well, the authority to negotiate real estate.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, is that correct?
I didn't get a second yet.
No
Okay, let's
second.
see.
I'll second it.
Okay, and a roll call.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Okay. New business? I don't see we have any exhibits for new business. We don't have any correspondence at this time. So the only thing left is our informational calendar, and that's in the back of the board packet. Thanksgiving break will be on November the 23rd through the 25th, and the holiday break will be December the 19th through the 30th. And this is both of 2022. And of course, the board's 12-month calendar and the Board of Trustees' annual calendar reports is back to Exhibits 8 and 9. Is there anything else? Dr. Bush?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Box?
No, sir.
Mr. Sidwell?
No, sir.
Ms. Stevenson?
Nothing.
Okay. Ms. Blanca?
No, sir.
Thank you for bearing with me. Ms. Ragland?
No, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Chris?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Nimro? Jason?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Morgan?
No, sir.
Okay, that being said, folks, I don't have anything else. We'll show this meeting adjourned at 7:42.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good evening, everybody. Okay, take care.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Have a good
night.
Good night.
Good night. End call. Quick access. No, I just want to end the video call. Just leave the call.